Episode 9 of the Friction Podcast. We are back. Hello. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell. Shout out to just another media company, Kadeem on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. We have a special guest, Sam.
Hey.
Zaya, introduce yourself, baby. I'm going to introduce Sam.
Oh, God. Of course you are. You think you're in charge of everything.
I'm the booking agent. Who's the booking agent?
Zaya like fire, ready to sip some Earl Grey like Drake. Hey.
Before we started this, we had this whole big argument about how Drake is trash. And
nobody said that but you.
Good God almighty, this man loves Drake. Next to me, to my right, is Sam Snyder. I'm really happy to have you here. Can you introduce yourself briefly before we get into the what rubbed you the wrong way, which we'll talk about that too.
Yes. So my name is Samantha Snyder, also known as Samantha Calhoun. I am a powerlifter and former track athlete.
You know you got to get a track, and you know that's personal.
Hit the round of applause or something.
Yo, I'm serious. I really want to take over that board because I didn't
right
I'm trying to figure out
Listen,
where the sound effects are.
Where is the clap? I got to look at humans crowd.
Introduce the guest.
Never.
Nothing. Episode 9.
I said episode.
But you
9.
ain't clap for us. Like, come on, Flood, get yourself together.
See, I wish William was here because he'll tighten you up.
I wish William was here too.
William be getting at you too.
I don't care about that.
Look, man. William, we miss you. He'll be back on the next episode. Our third co-host. So we start off every segment with this thing called "What Rubbed You the Wrong Way or the Right Way." Okay. It's just a play on Friction Podcast. I want two. So I want one thing that rubbed you the right way, and then I want one thing that rubbed you the wrong way. It could be this week, it could be yesterday, it could be this year, but we need to know what grinds your gears and things that make you happy.
So I'm not easily triggered,
okay.
But I think everyone has been triggered this year just with the climate we're in. And one of the reasons that I got the vaccine was to travel, right? I wanted to travel. And I have a competition in Sweden that I should be traveling to next week. Mm-hmm. But the reason why I chose not to is because we need a negative test to get back into the country. So even though I'm fully vaccinated, there's a risk that if I was to leave the country, I wouldn't be able to come back into the country.
Wow.
You know, and the effects of that could spiral downward.
Right.
Right now you're stuck in a foreign country for 2 weeks, hotel stay, a new flight, loss of work, simply because for whatever reason I may have tested positive and I couldn't get back into the country. So
you weren't willing to take the risk?
I wasn't willing to take the risk.
Okay. Entrepreneur, not taking risks.
So you did get vaccinated?
I did.
Okay, but you're saying you're not going to travel
right
because of that restriction, even though you are vaccinated?
Exactly. Because I still could test positive.
Yeah, right. That's true. Yeah, I mean, I definitely know people.
Because you kind of gave anti-vaxxer vibes just now, just a little bit. You can go sit next to Zaya, Sam. Y'all.
I ain't vaccinated either.
I'm in a room full of anti-vaxxers. All y'all are
got back in the
fucking
country.
Germs. Something that rubs you the right way?
Something that rubbed me the right way.
Talking to the mic, please.
So I'm taking care of my nephew. My sister's in the military, and she's about to get ready to go on deployment. So he's living with us for the next year. Mm-hmm. And he's 14. He just started high school, and he asked me he wanted to get a job.
Oh.
Right?
At 14?
At 14. He said he wanted to get a job. And I said, okay, let me look into it for you because he needs a job permit. And, so I asked someone about the job permit, and he came back to me a few days later like, hey, did you find out about that job? So he's very assertive about wanting to get a job, and so I'm very proud of that.
Okay, that's what's up. Shout out to nephew. What's his name?
Jaden.
Jaden. We're going to drop a bomb. Get that money, Jaden.
They might get him a job at 14.
Listen, could you imagine being 14 making $15, $16 an hour, bro?
I can't.
All right.
I
think I made $7. Yeah,
$7.25 was what I started.
Yeah, my $7. So shout out to him. Yeah. Zaya, what's up?
Kadeem, what rubbed you the wrong way, Kadeem?
The first thing that rubbed me the wrong way is
look. He put
people. No, I got to go to wide whenever I'm talking anyway. But the people that bring up like stats or something to make a point, and then as soon as you be like, boom, with a stat back, they be like, well, that don't matter. Flood did it. I mean, it wasn't stat. We was talking about passports. But then after our game last week, we won like 35-0 or something like that. This dad comes up to us. He's somebody's grandpa on our team. He's like, he didn't get enough plays, which is a lie. It's not true at all, right? It's not even close. He said he only got 6 plays. NPR is 8. He probably played double that, triple that, whatever. He like, I got 2 national championships. Me and Willie like, nigga, so do we. The fuck? That shit don't matter. And I'm like, well, why you bring it up?
Right.
I hate when people bring up stuff they don't want to talk about.
Right.
Don't bring it up. Don't tell me, oh, I've been to Colombia, and then I say, well, let's see who's more tatted out here, and you be like, oh, I don't care about that.
Well, that's a little different.
But you brought it up.
We're talking about Colombia. You're talking about other places in conjunction with Colombia. False equivalence.
No, it's not.
Give me something that rubs you the right way, sir.
My godson has been playing football since he was 6, right? He was a D lineman. He was an NPR kid. Now he's a starting running back at Grassfield. He's getting varsity reps. He had 3 tutties last week. Ooh. We out here cooking. He been working. Hard work, dedication.
Is Grassfield good this year?
The JV is.
Okay. But like since Grassfield opened, they've been rocking and rolling like across the board.
Young.
Though.
They're young.
Yeah.
A kid from JV got called up to be the varsity quarterback. Went to Smith to be a backup. So they don't have a starting quarterback for real. So they look
struggling.
They got smacked by Western Branch. They've played Western Branch and Oscar Smith already. So
2 top schools.
Yeah, their varsity is getting their ass beat. But we don't care about that. My godson is out here cooking up. Shout out to Lil Willie.
I'm gonna drop a bomb for him too. Zaya, you got something for me?
Yes. Okay. It rubbed me the right way. This past weekend, my son and my daughter, they both performed in a show. And my son brought me up on stage, and it really rubbed me the right way. And it really rubs me the wrong way that you're fucking hating over there. You're hating. But that's what rubs me the wrong way. Love and his hatery.
Oh, is that Zakai?
Yes.
Drop a bomb for him too. That's my dude. The mom, not so much, but the son, that's my guy.
Anyway.
I got something to rub me the wrong way. Town Bank rubs me the wrong way. Town Bank rubs me the wrong way. It was some fraudulent activity on my account over this past weekend. They took literally all my money, and they took an extra $1,500 on top of that. So I'm negative $1,500 on my account, and Town Bank told me it was going to take 90 to 120 days before I can get my money back. So that absolutely right.
What's the FDIC for?
Right.
Yeah.
They trifling.
Right. So that absolutely rubs me the wrong way.
Bank of America would never.
Look, and so
Navy
I posted
Fed
it.
would never.
So the other thing that rubs me the wrong way is the vice president of Town Bank, my branch specifically. She called me. I posted it about, what happened at the bank, and I posted my account balance and all that. And the lady called me and told me that I need to take the post down.
She said you need to take it down, or she asked you. Don't exaggerate.
I mean, she asked me.
Oh, okay. So she
But
said
I don't give a
ask me about what I'm doing on my socials.
She asked you to take it down.
She don't need to ask me anything for one. No.
Should be able to say what you want on your platform, but she did not tell you that you had to take it down. Stop trying. You know what I'm saying?
Don't
That's
ask
all I'm
me about
saying.
my socials. Where's my money?
Right. So, and that's what I said. I said, bro, you're more worried about your reputation than my negative 1,500 balance.
More than negative 15. They got you, and then they got you for some extra.
Exactly.
How they get you for the extra?
That's what I'm
The
saying. I was
scammers
like,
are
yo,
good.
at what point does the account or flat, like when I went to Atlanta 3 weeks ago, as soon as I made a purchase in Atlanta, they was like, yo, is this you? You down here?
Yeah.
You don't be down here.
I'm sorry,
You know what
but
I'm saying?
the fact that you had so many charges hit at one time, in my mind, like that should be like an automatic flag,
Right.
For the bank,
Right.
period. Like it should be like an automated thing, like not something that someone has to be like, oh look, that looks weird. Like the bank should have some sort of system
Well,
in
the
place.
algorithm is
Town
supposed to
Bank
track
at
your
that.
normal spending.
That's what I'm saying. Like
And,
that's
I mean,
crazy.
just on eBay alone, it was over 30 transactions.
They was on eBay going up.
Going crazy. Like, yeah, I'm poor right now. So, Cash App, fitness.
We'll put it on the screen somewhere.
Yes,
for you.
please.
I got you.
Yeah, put it on the screen. I'm out here hungry, man.
Donations.
Look, donations. What do you put it up? Donations. Donations.
Yeah, for real.
Shout out to Dr. Umar. I usually don't be shouting out people because they don't deserve to be on this platform, but
Didn't they just say he opened the school finally?
Did he?
I think so. I think I heard something like he finally opened a school, but he don't got no teachers. He ain't got no money to pay the teachers, so donations to pay the teachers. Donations.
I mean,
I don't know.
He's the funniest guy. I love he's just a fountain of beautiful memes and gifs. It's just hilarious. So let's get into this. Sam.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm so happy that you came. You know, I don't give myself enough credit for being a booking agent.
Jesus Christ.
Look at the haters. You see what I'm saying? She hates haters. He hates haters. But when it comes to me, oh my God, start to rolling the eyes and the breathing hard. Kadeem, you need to put booking agent next to my resume as well, on top of all of the other things that I'm responsible for. And I say that to say that I'm really happy to have you here. We've had an amazing time just bringing distinguished guests on, and you're just a part of that pedigree.
I appreciate
Of course, he's taking credit for it, Sam.
I'm not taking credit for it.
It's not even about you.
No.
It's about him.
Well, I mean, kind of, but not really. So, Sam, tell us about yourself. What's the motivation?
Yes.
Tell us about baby Sam. Tell us about teenage Sam. Tell us about adult Sam. And I want to know everything and in between. What hobbies do you have and all that? So we're going to give you a few minutes to just kind of like cook it up. Go ahead, cook it up.
Well, we'll start with the motivation.
Okay.
Yes.
Right? Ever since a young age, my main motivation was to be independent. Like, I never had like a true end goal of what that looked like in the sense of like career, but I always told myself, whatever you do, just be good at it. Be the best at whatever you do, and just.
Are you the best?
Yeah. What?
Are you the best?
I am the best.
What?
Okay, I mean, you got to speak
Did
up
I
when you say you're the best. You know, there's a whole lot of egos up on here on this platform.
I know you're not looking at me.
And
Keep going, baby.
I just wanted to live life on my terms. You know, I didn't want to have to ask anyone for any money, anyone for permission to do anything. I just wanted to put myself in a position that I could live life on my terms.
Right.
And that's been the main motivation from a very early age.
Right. So that strength, there's a play on words there because you're literally a power athlete, and you're empowered by, see, we're going to write this book. I'm going to edit everything. Look, he hating again, y'all. He hating again on the background.
Listen to him. He's crazy.
Are you going to let the guest continue?
Please.
I'm going to let her continue.
All right. Strength.
Y'all terrible this morning. Go ahead, babe.
So I started playing basketball when I was 6. So I've always been athletic or active. Mm-hmm. And the main motivation for me in sports was really to just get out of the house.
Right.
Being able to travel with the sports team, like it was, like people go to their friend's house on the weekend.
Right.
My mom really didn't allow that, but I could go to this athletic event. And
so you had a strict,
upbringing.
Okay. Was mom and dad involved?
Mom was involved, and she was very strict.
Okay.
So sports gave me that outlet to get out of the house and do things.
Right. That freedom, that independence that you just so okay.
Exactly,
Got
exactly. So I played every sport to be going year round.
Like, look, if it was something I was going to try it just to get out the house.
Exactly.
I love it.
So I ran track. I played basketball. I ran cross country. I played softball. All year round, just to get out of the house. So I was always active.
You think your mom's going to appreciate that when she sees this?
She's not. And that's why I hesitated, because before this, she texted me. She said, "Hey, let me know when the podcast is on tomorrow." That's why I hesitated. I was like, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
All right.
She made me who I am because she's a hard worker.
All right.
And she never asked for anything, and she went to work every day.
Right.
So that was always instilled in me.
Right.
So it's because of her and having her as a role model, which is why I'm here today.
Nice way to double back and clean that up.
The good and the bad. You got to take the good and the bad.
Yeah,
right.
We didn't have much. My mom was a single parent. She didn't make much. Somehow, we always had lights. We always had food. We always had.
What's your mom's name?
Audrey.
Audrey. Hey, baby. What you doing out there? Oh, you see us. Huh?
Yeah. And I always felt well off, even though we were, essentially poor.
Right.
But I never felt that way. It's because she took care of us, to that degree that we never had to feel that way. But I knew I wanted to put myself in a position that I legitimately, could take care of myself and not have to depend on anyone.
I want to stop you real quick and talk about something that it was a few weeks ago. And we talk about money, we talk about the wealth gap and how we can close that. And I had this big long thread talking about Black wealth and our role in that. And you commented, because you very rarely comment on anything, but I know you be lurking like this.
Oh yeah, I'm always for the comments.
Look, you gonna lurk, but you felt compelled to comment on that, and I gave you some pushback about your career and how privileged we were as athletes to use that as leverage to get where we are now as fitness professionals, as coaches, as all of these things, and I don't want athletes to take that for granted. You know what I mean? Not saying that, if we come from nothing, that we should stick to nothing, but also acknowledge and understand that even talent is something that you can scale. And we need to do a better job of honing in on those things, because from the outside looking in, you seem happy, you have a beautiful marriage, you in the pool every day. She living good over there. You know what I mean? And it's just super important that these type of stories get out from people like you and I, who come from situations who are not like super ideal, but can kind of work our way up and just use those skills to do something professional with it. I'm sorry, I wanted to cut in. Zaya, you got anything? Because you don't have nothing.
Because I was trying to figure out where you were going with this, as far as the financial scaling, as far as the privilege, as far as athletes. Like, what exactly are you saying? Because if I'm not mistaken, didn't you say it was a break?
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
And
run it back.
So even with that, we had some side conversations, and we talked about how you can't act like that this God-given skill isn't a privilege. You know what I'm saying? Like, it isn't something that it should be looked at the same view as something that's inherited. You know what I mean? So you can say that, hey, I worked my way up through this, and it isn't the same as somebody who doesn't have, like, my dad was a track and field athlete. It was almost destined for me to be good because he was just as good as I was.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that somebody who grew up right next to me who didn't have that same, they just ran track because I ran track.
Okay.
The trajectory ain't going to be the same for them because they don't have that. So they're going to devote themselves to sports just like I devoted myself, but I have a one-up on them because of that pedigree.
Okay.
For sure.
We see that in the hood all the time.
Okay.
It's a break.
It's not a break.
It's a break.
I feel like that was a lot of fluff.
Rub me the right way is a kid that's been putting in the work. You can put in the work if it's something you're really dedicated to.
Right. Do something else. It's not. It's a bad. The ROI on that is terrible.
So you think they should not devote their life to sport?
Nope.
You know what? So, and I will enhance your point.
Yes.
Ooh, another athlete is going to enhance my point. Keep going, babes.
They're like, Sam, what are your hobbies? Well, I don't have any hobbies because I spent my entire life dedicated to sport.
I said that. Keep going.
I wanted to be like my nephew who got a job at 14. But I had to tell someone like, oh, hey, I can't work this day, that day. Oh, really? I'll only work Saturday. Maybe. In a month, I can't work Saturday because I'm going to be away. So it is a hindrance.
Oh, hold on. Y'all went to college because of these sports?
Mm-hmm.
So if my godson just gets a scholarship, even if he doesn't go to the league and do it professionally, that's not a build for him?
For him specifically, but we're talking about percentages.
But listen to the dedication. I'm talking, he's on the same level. All he does is football and school. Okay. That's your focus right now, bro.
So listen,
it's the same thing.
Think about the ROI. Out of all of the kids who are dedicating their lives to sports, how many of them are going to get a scholarship to a college? Very, very, we're not very big low.
We're saying period. Just
period. Yeah, period.
No, I don't know because I'm close to. Oh shit, my fault.
It's all good.
I'm close to it. So on Friday, when you listen to them names, at least 10 of them names is kids I touched personally. So I see the work being, and then the kids behind them see like, oh shit, Peyton is a junior at Maury now. And he had 3 touchdowns he's going to a D1 school.
Right.
So they see the work, so it makes them work harder.
But again, I think it's important to understand the statistics.
That discipline, bro, that's like saying don't be an entrepreneur because a lot of them fail in the first year.
But what about in college though? All right, so you go to college for sport. That was a job.
Yeah, we know.
That was a job. Yeah, and I enjoyed every moment of it. But what happens after college, right?
You're nothing.
You're nothing. And I had the misconception that all I needed to do was graduate. I mean, I made good grades, all that, no problem.
Sure.
But I was under the conception that once I graduated, those jobs were going to come to me.
I think that these kids are, and just because I'm around them a lot, are much more smarter than us because we did believe you just get a degree and the jobs come to you. They know college might be some BS.
Right.
So they're already thinking 10 steps ahead of. They already, bro, if I worked as hard as these kids are working now, y'all probably did. In high school, we went out and played. Right? No, he go to workouts. That's all they do, man. They focus on getting A's and playing ball. That level of focus is different than a kid that, like, when we was growing up, you can't compare this time to that time. I'm seeing the kids now, they are locked. They be locked in, bro. From like 10, they be gone.
I think it's a hindrance to a kid to devote everything to sport, again, because the likelihood of you taking it to every level, that percentage of success gets lower and lower and lower, but that devotion gets higher and higher and higher. And so when it's time for it to stop, because it's eventually going to stop, they don't have anything.
Bro, that's true at every level, though. Even in the NFL, if you go to the league, half of them after a couple years be broke.
Right.
That you got to have people around you to teach you how to hone those skills. Dedicating your time and stuff is the same across everything. Well, so learning it in sports is a good way to learn it, how to apply it to other things in life.
So
y'all not successful. You don't run track now. You still successful, right?
Right.
You have the same skills that you learned intrinsically from playing sports.
I was able, again, I'm a part of a very small percentage of student athletes who was able to
Being
pivot.
an entrepreneur,
Let me tell you, most all of my friends from college, they work in retail, bro.
I feel you.
Because they didn't have no skills, because they devoted their entire life to running track.
Bro, and you did too?
Yeah.
And what are you doing now?
I'm an anomaly. I am over here.
We cannot say when we had Stephanie Morales up here and be like, yo, follow her path when she's in a smaller percentage than what y'all are talking about.
Right.
And then tell the same people that want to first
I
of all,
need
they
the thing.
love playing that game. You know what that's like to love
not
playing that
getting it.
game. You gonna tell people like, don't dedicate yourself to that and be mediocre?
No, what we're
Why?
saying is, I'm not saying that you shouldn't play sports. I'm saying the level of devotion, because the likelihood of you being successful as you go up in the levels, there needs to be something to balance that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm spending
That's where
time,
the circle around you comes in, bro.
but who has those circles? Everybody in your circle are just as devoted to the sport as you are,
No,
even
no,
the coaches.
no. Yeah, bro. Okay. Like I'm saying, I get what y'all are saying, but right, listen to my point. I'm talking about my godson, right? He going to Grassfield. This is the best school out here, right? We moved there so he could do that, but we also let him reclass so he could be around. We're trying to get him to be successful. If you're tuned into that, and we don't be like, bro, you're going to the league. We be like, hey, man, let's do this. Let's take this as far as we can take it because you love this game. You want to sow into things they love, too. If he was an artist, we'd be like, bro, where you want to go paint at?
What's the likelihood of that shit happening, though?
What's the
like,
likelihood
we
of
don't
what?
have black kids who
Crazy.
aspire to be in STEM. And, I mean, art is
Some
subjective.
do. That's not true. Some do, but most of us,
Look at college enrollment of black students in STEM outside of nursing. You won't have them. I used to mess with this chick who was a mathematics degree, who had a mathematics degree, and it was the most mind-blowing thing I've ever. I was like, bro, black folks do math like that? Her textbooks were like the size of my hand, and it had no numbers in it, and she was doing math. I was like, bro, this is amazing. And she was just like, yeah, it's easy. And it was like, I've never even thought of stuff like that.
Because
she's an actuary now.
That's dope.
Yeah, like the only black actuary in the entire company.
I know a lot of black successful people that work at Google and Facebook, and they get $1 million.
I said an actuary.
I'm saying that she worked for Deloitte. She a PM. They run whole companies.
I don't understand why you're resistant.
I'm just saying it's not good to tell people like, yo, don't dedicate yourself to something that you love to do.
I'm not
Because
saying,
there's a lot of things people love to do that what is success to them might not be success to you. If you're saying,
Right.
all y'all not going to the league, they know that.
I think there's a disproportionate interest in sport amongst our community, and it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think that when you're talking about sports in the community, we also have to keep in mind what is actually being put out there in the media. That's what's being promoted and how it's being promoted. And like to transition somewhat into the political like views behind why certain things are being promoted. As far as the Black community, I mean, there's obviously some agenda to be able to say, okay, well, we can get our pick because naturally we have the most athletic genes per se. So I mean,
Per se.
well, I'm
Like
just
that's
saying,
not a
if we're talking
person.
about in the U.S. Okay, 'cause
Okay,
that's
right.
not going outside of this
Right.
country. But like it's in terms of the U.S., yes, we probably have the best genetic gene pool when it comes to athleticism. So there's some sort of maybe attention that's being pushed, and quite possibly an agenda that's being pushed. But I don't think that it's.
And we
I
only
don't
talk
think that
about
we
football and
should.
basketball. We're not talking about the white kids that play lacrosse and tennis just for fun. They do that.
Well,
shit
yeah, I
for
mean, the
fun.
point was he's talking about build a break as far as our community and why it's pushed.
Yeah.
But it is, I feel like on some level, it gives children an opportunity to have some level of expression, some way, some type of outlet. I'm not suggesting by any means that we shouldn't promote more things that are educational, financial, stability, financial education, things of that nature, because we need that collectively as a community. But I don't think that we should scale back on the athletic part, because I don't think it's a break. I think if anything, it allows us to introduce more of those things. If we have people like, Stephanie, that's bringing programs to the community, maybe Sam, like, I don't know the things that you're doing as far as in your specific, arenas, as far as introducing these things, but bringing awareness to other aspects of the business. You know what I mean? You come from an athletic background, but you are also promoting business to your kids and to your students. So I don't think we should scale back on it. And I don't think
tell
it's a
them that
break.
when they come to train with your ass. You'll
Yes,
be like,
I
hey,
do.
Hey, don't do sports and go somewhere else. Do something else.
Yes, I do.
Nah, man, you should be so.
Listen, I'm going to tag all of my students in this, and I need you to confirm exactly what he's trying to tell me is absolutely wrong. I tell them all the time, look, go be a doctor, bro. It's way more secure. You'll make $200,000 for the rest of your life.
Spending $1 million in college that you'll never pay back.
$1 million. If you're making $2 million a year, you'll pay that back in no time.
All right. You their financial
It
advisor
sounds
too?
good, but
No,
that
I
is
mean,
not.
so
you
listen.
telling them how to
It
spend their
sounds
$200?
good.
So
on
listen,
paper,
this is
but
I
that's not
have
how
a
it
client
works,
right
but-
now who's a travel nurse. She does anesthesia. She makes $300,000 a year, and she had over 100 and something thousand student loan debt. You know how quickly she paid that
You
shit
did
off.
not just use the numbers I use. See how you switch the numbers?
Well, even if it was $1
Anybody
million,
can pay off. No,
but who has $1 million in student loan debt?
doctors, nigga.
She's an anesthesia nurse.
Depends on what
They be in school
nurse
just as
you
long.
Said, I said doctor.
But what I'm saying is the money that she's making.
I text
You text me something?
you. No, I didn't. I got something to do. No, I'm just letting you know.
Okay. We are. So let's get back.
I know we off
I'm
track.
tripping.
You are.
All right. So back to you. I'm so sorry. We're gonna have to cut all this shit, but it'll be all right.
Conversation.
Yeah, it was a good conversation.
So I don't regret my path. I feel lucky and privileged for the path I have taken, because I literally get to make a living like hanging with people and making them better and making myself better in the process of that. And I just feel so lucky. And by that luck, it brings on like a certain guilt, because I'm like, damn, how did I get so lucky? Yes, I worked hard, and yes, I capitalized on my opportunities, and yes, I showed up every day and put in the work, but there was still, to me, there was still an inherent luck to be in the right place at the right time to capitalize.
That goes for everything, bro. That's not.
I didn't say anything.
I'm just saying you looked at me. You didn't have to say it.
I didn't say
I'm
anything.
just saying that comes with everything, though.
Yeah,
Everything
that's
where
fine.
you're successful is like, oh shit, I was in the right place, right time. I talked to the right person. That's the corporate America. That's if you was on the sales floor. That's sports. That's all.
I mean, at what point does it become intentional, though? Like
The work she put in is the intent.
Okay.
Being prepared for the moment is the intent. When the moment comes, you got to show up.
You gotta be there ready.
That's for anything.
Right. So I just feel like everything is intentional. Like I read a book on it actually. Seriously, I mean, like you have to be intentional in your direction. You have to be intentional. Like when I'm canvassing prospects to come on this podcast, like I'm straight up in their inbox. I'm straight up calling them like, oh, I can't get in contact. Like, bro, I need you to come on this show. I'll follow up 35 times. Like, I'll call you. I'll pop up on you if I could. You know what I'm saying? Like, that intent, like, it isn't about the opportunity when I'm positioning myself, to her point, to be there. And I mean, I'm not surprised by it. You know what I'm saying? Luck is when I feel like I'm surprised by something. You know what I mean? Like, damn, I'm lucky as hell.
I think
Like, no, I'm
luck
not
is
lucky,
just the
bro.
feeling of like, it's a freedom that come. We all know that it's a freedom that come with some of the stuff we get to do.
Right.
So you
Right.
feel lucky for that
Gratitude,
freedom,
yeah.
yeah. It's not like luck, like, oh, it happened to me out of no, I've been grinding for
Like
this.
it's noon and we're having this conversation right now.
Right.
We're not stuck in anyone's office.
Facts.
We didn't have to request off to be here.
Facts.
We're here.
I mean, there's a certain. I ain't going back, but I mean, we
Hey,
kind of
if
work
somebody-
to this
Oh, I
point.
thought you was talking about me again.
No, I mean, we kind of work to this point
Yeah.
to be able to
Yes,
do. So I
yes.
don't feel lucky.
Sometimes I feel lucky.
Really?
Well, I mean, are we talking about lucky or just grateful?
It's a lot of people that
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think what we're trying to say is that we're grateful.
And I don't take that for granted.
Go
Like
ahead.
I choose to work for somebody else because I'm like, all right, that bag is enough for me to go do that. that's blessings, bro.
I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
you decide what you want to trade your time for, and
Facts.
that's your,
That's a
that's your
whole
choice.
different
You know what I'm saying?
life
However
that
you
we
want to,
live.
exactly. But Sam, tell us a little bit about some of like the obstacles that you've had to like deal with once you kind of transition more onto the professional side. Like, tell us exactly what you do, and then some of the obstacles that you've run
that's a good
into.
segue.
Strike two.
You're a hater. That's a good segue.
So I am a coach. So I coach / personal trainer. That's what I do full.
Are you better than me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
But your people love you and my people love me.
We gonna have like a fitness challenge, and my client's gonna tear your ass up,
Oh,
huh?
challenge.
Yeah.
Oh.
And we can't do all lifting and shit because that's all y'all be in there putting all that weight. We got to throw some sports stuff in there because we like to move around. But call me on that.
So I do believe that with my accolades and my education level and all the things I achieve, if I was a male in this field, I will be much greater,
I agree.
right?
I hate
the
that shit.
gym, there could be a suboptimal male. Education, ability, accolades, and people will go to him first just because he's a male.
Yep.
Just because he's a male.
How you feel about that, Kadeem?
I mean, I know it's true. I don't think it should be.
Okay, I'm just
No,
picking
we
on you.
know it's. Come on, we know it.
I mean, I'm just because you be in your Kevin Samuels bag from time to time.
Nah, that's different. We gonna talk. See,
ahead.
he's coming for me today. What's up with you?
And then, so they'll go to the male, and then they'll get poor service,
Right.
right? Just because they have the look, just because you think they go talk the talk, they can't walk the walk. And then they'll come to me and like you knew what I had to offer before you went there.
Yeah.
And I have that problem with the field. It hasn't limited me, but I know I could be so much further if I was just born just a male.
Right.
Dream, everything else, if I was a male.
So you have your own space as well, right?
I do not. I train out of the Iron Asylum,
Okay.
And-
Which IA you train out of?
Kingsville and Castleton.
Oh, word. I love IA.
So where's the little videos where is that?
That's my garage.
Why you don't bring folks in there? Fuck the Iron Asylum.
I just-
They don't deserve you.
It's just not necessary. And
Right.
I currently I just love my personal space.
Feel you.
And I just don't want to bring anyone into that space unless I need to. COVID comes, then hey, it's gonna be welcome, and then
Right.
that transition will happen naturally.
Right.
But as far as right now, I just don't feel it's necessary to bring people into my space. Yeah.
You waiting for it?
I'm not waiting for it. So tell us about competition. I marvel at the things that you've been able to accomplish within your career. Your indexes are out of this world. Can you share people what your squat, your bench, your deadlift max are, and also the weight that you weighed when you did those lifts?
Yes.
That's super important.
So I compete at 138 pounds. My best squat is 397 pounds. The numbers are weird because we compete in kilos. My best bench is 242 pounds, and my best deadlift is 501 pounds.
Weighing 138.
Weighing 138.
That's incredible.
A fucking monster, bro. I know men that are 130 pounds. They can't do half
I
that.
know men that are 200 pounds. That can't do that.
Right, man. So, tell us about the experience. Like when you won your first competition, when you fell in love with lifting, because you transitioned from running to lifting,
Right.
And how was that? Like, how did you feel? For me personally, I'm not like a professional lifter, but like I struggle lifting heavy weights because we were trained to be aerodynamic, lift moderately heavyweight super fast. You know what I'm saying? Just tell us about that transition to going from a speed athlete to a power athlete.
Right. So, as I mentioned earlier, I had no hobbies. Like, the hobby was sport. And when I graduated college, I was so excited. I'm like, I finally could just like work out. I could just go to the gym on my own terms and work out. And I really enjoyed that for a long time. And people will ask me like, what are you training for? What are you training for? I'm like, nothing, just life. Right. And that answer was very satisfactory for a while, but it became to a point like, damn, what are you doing? Like, I was happy with my body. I wasn't reaching towards anything. And powerlifting just gave me something to like train for. And I didn't go into it with, I knew I was generally strong, like just looking around in the gym. I knew I was strong, but I had no expectations outside of that. And I did my first meet, I actually won. And even then, the bug didn't, I wasn't like, I got to do this. Because that's when I started grad school. And I dabbled with Olympic lifting for a while, and I was okay with that. It wasn't until my second meet that I realized, like, oh, crap. You're actually pretty good at this,
right.
And then I started looking at, the national records and, what it would take to win nationals. And that's when I went down a rabbit hole of like, I could actually I could actually compete again and be athlete Sam again. And that was a good feeling. And I never looked back ever since. And this is 2015.
All right, I'm still trying to find that. I tell my clients all the time, like I'm missing. There's a void there. That competition. Real quick, can you tell myself and our onlookers the difference between powerlifting and Olympic lifting?
Yes. So powerlifting is squat, bench, and deadlifting. So it's 3 main lifts. And Olympic lifting, which you'll see in the Olympics that everyone confuses powerlifting with, is the clean and jerk and the snatch.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 different sports.
So what's your snatch and your clean and jerk?
Oh, God.
So it's weird because I feel like as a speed athlete, it makes more sense from a biomechanical standpoint that you would go towards Olympic lifting because there's a lot of torque, there's a lot of speed, and all of the things that we've trained our entire life for. Like, that should be an easy transition and not so much the actual powerlifting.
Right.
Because I know from experience and just knowing all of my track friends, we suck at being super strong. But when it comes to Olympic lifts, we outdo everybody. So
I think the problem was I found powerlifting first. So I became strong, brute strong.
Right.
And Olympic lifting requires a certain level of finesse and patience. It's not necessarily about strength. Right. It's more like technique based. And when I tried Olympic lifting, I wanted to just lift the weight.
Right.
Because I could.
Right.
And that didn't take me far.
Wow.
And instead of like riding that through and, just dealing with it, I went back to the easy. Yeah.
So I want to get into something, our topic for today, because we're the Friction Podcast.
You totally didn't let her answer the question, by the way.
She did answer.
No, she didn't. Didn't he ask you what was your snatch?
Oh, yeah, I have no idea.
Okay.
It's nothing.
Because you asked her and then you started talking. But okay, go ahead.
That's
I'm on you today.
Okay, that's fine, and I'm on Kadeem. Like we at each other right now.
Why y'all coming?
Look, the friction is at an all-time high.
All time.
Shout out to William, man.
Will, like
because he offsets your foolishness.
William brings foolishness himself.
Hey, but look, when he get in his bag, he be like, and he turn towards you and do one of these. He balances everything out, man. Shout out to him.
But the backtrack to one of your original questions is powerlifting and track have a lot of similarities because in the off season right? You take the summer off and you may work out
Right.
a little bit.
Right.
But in season, when it's time to condition, you're like out of shape.
Right.
Like dog shit slow.
Right.
Right. And then the next 3 or 4 months of conditioning, what became a recovery, what was once a workout is now a recovery day.
Right.
Like you just got in so much better shape within 3 or 4 months.
Right.
Right. The whole process of from training, to peaking.
Right.
It's the same thing with powerlifting. You train to peak. You train to peak.
Man, I just can't get super strong to save my life. I'll be wanting
Because
to.
there's no ending for you. It's just like a loophole. There's no like end date and then a taper.
Right.
It's just different. Cause
I want to be
the
strong.
platform brings out something in you, just like on the track.
Right.
You can't replicate what you do on the track in competition at practice.
For sure.
It brings out a whole different beast in you,
Right.
and that's why I compete.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, my body, I've probably gained about 50 pounds in the last 5 years, but as far as like strength, it's not a big difference. So we're going to get into the topic finally. Because we're the Friction Podcast, we like to talk about sensitive and not so sensitive things as it pertains to our guest and the topic of sport. We're going to talk about gender identity within the sport. It's probably the most polarizing topic within sports outside of like, sports performance stuff, but that kind of been around forever. I want to know what everybody feels like about transgendered athletes within sport. Are you okay with it? Are you not okay with it? And why? I'll start first. I'm absolutely not okay with it. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of it. Me and Zaya were talking earlier a couple of days ago about people transitioning before puberty. I don't know the science behind it. From what I've seen on social media, that it actually makes a huge difference that when people transitions before their puberty, before they hit puberty, that they can kind of like regulate their testosterone levels to whatever it is that they identify with. But even still, because I don't know enough, I've seen it one too many times that men who transition into womanhood, they dominate sport. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like it at all. Zaya.
I think it makes a difference. I think we definitely need to do more research. And I feel like when it comes to, especially like when we're talking about the topic of people that are dedicating their entire existence, so to speak, to the sport. So we're talking about student athletes who are committed, don't get jobs because they have to go to practice, they have to travel with their team and things of that nature, and possibly losing out because of now this need to include a group of people who have this identity thing that's happening with them. And I don't want to take away from I don't want to minimize how someone feels, but there's clearly a difference in how girls compete and how boys compete. And I think if you are born a male, then there is a difference. So I don't necessarily think that we're at a stage where the research has really warranted us being able to say, yeah, it's a good time to start being inclusive. Because, I mean, now you're hearing of young women who are losing out on scholarships because they're, not meeting, certain, the criteria.
There is one.
Because of, a transgender athlete who wants to be included, doesn't want to be excluded. And I understand that. But at the same time, what happens to the student athlete who's trained and worked hard, but now because you have clearly a genetic advantage, biological advantage, now you're being excluded from being able to have those opportunities. I feel like it's pretty disappointing, and I think it could cause a lot more issues for people, especially like mental health and just how it can make an athlete feel, especially when you're committed to this agenda of yours in your mind. Like, this is what I do. I am, especially with like, I've seen it mostly like in track and field.
Right.
And then, of course, in your sport now, because now I have a questions about the powerlifting versus Olympic lifting in the Olympics in general,
right.
Because we do know that was like the first sport, right? That actually allowed it to happen. And this person didn't transition as a child. This person transitioned
much
after
older,
they were 30 years old.
Much older, right?
So that to me looked a little bit off. Like
Kadeem.
it doesn't seem right.
I mean, I'm not okay with it. I probably would if it was like that. Like you have the men's, the women's, and then the transgender or transitioning over here. Do your thing over here.
Right. I think that's generally what people have come up with. Like there needs to be a separate lane for transgendered athletes.
You was
Sammy,
a man, and you start running with them girls, you gonna smoke them if you nice.
right? I mean, but you don't really even have to be nice. Like,
damn, that sounds crazy.
No, but I mean, you don't. So like, to put things into perspective, just for track.
Well, hold on. What are your thoughts? And then we'll get to your perspective.
Okay.
Sir.
You know what? You at me for real today.
Sam, what are your thoughts?
So unfortunately, the science say there is no difference. The science say there's a 10 to 12% performance gap. But that gap doesn't come from the increased testosterone. They say, so women who naturally have a higher test than other women, there's only a 1 and 3% performance difference. However, in a sport like track, 1 and 3% is a lot.
Huge.
In a sport lifting,
10% is getting destroyed.
Right. And so we're trying to pinpoint this with science, but it's not science, it's a society. So the best year I had in high school running was when I practiced with the guys, because there wasn't that many females running that year. So I did every practice with the guys. So every practice was like a race. Right. And I got a lot better, right? And I think if, as a society, if we didn't segregate men and female sports, I think that performance gap would naturally decrease over time.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So I was at 2 cases, right? My son plays t-ball, and there's little girls on his team, and you want to know it because they have the helmet, and they're all playing the same, right? I went to a field hockey game. There was a little boy playing, and he wasn't exceptionally good. He just blended in very well. But when does that performance when do you see a performance difference? When we separate, when the guys go play football and they get to lift weights before every practice, and they get to be a part of a pack, and they get to be aggressive and assertive and do all these things that females, they get to go do dancing and gymnastics and cheerleading, and I think that's that performance kind of vary. And I didn't start lifting weights truly until after college, because then college, like you said, you win.
Right. Right.
We didn't do much, so it wasn't. So it wasn't until 10 years later that I'm now lifting. When this guy who was playing football in middle school was in the weight room. Right. So I think the Olympics is like, okay, as long as we get their test levels down, everything should be good. But even though their performance is decreasing because of decreasing tests, they still have a net gain from all their experiences for being included in this male-dominant society, because we're talking about professional athletes. Right. So they played male sports, and it was in a male locker room, and got to have all these benefits of being around men, because even I have clients who train with me, and male clients, they get strong. But the men who train with other men, they get freaky strong just by being in that pack, just for trying to outperform the other guy. And I think, and as a woman, I couldn't go play basketball with the guys in a organized setting. You have the anomaly athletes who could go play pickup, and those girls are typically better than the girls who don't get the opportunity to go play pickup with the boys. And I think there's something to be said about that as a society, that science can't pinpoint.
Okay.
So do you think it's better to integrate? Do you think it's better to start forging like student athletes to train together and to compete against each other? Like, do you think that would be better overall, especially
how you
now
feel
that
about
they're
the mixed relay?
Introducing the transgender athletes, or now putting it sort of out there where it's a little bit more accepted and people are wanting it and fighting for it, and so do you think it's better that at an early age they start competing against each other just in general?
At an early age, I think the only variable, like you guys said earlier, is puberty. because a part of puberty is getting taller.
Right.
And that is an advantage that drugs can't negate.
Right.
You know, and there you go. There's no way you can negate that advantage. But before that age, yes, you could integrate. And I think that would naturally increase women's performance just naturally. That it may not be a bigger factor on the outside end, you know, in adulthood.
Do you think it's safe?
Is it safe? It depends
Yeah.
on the sport.
Right.
Well, so I actually like what you're saying. I didn't think that I would, but I actually like what you're saying, because before puberty, everybody's kind of like on the same level.
Awkward.
You know what I'm saying? Like men
Oh,
and
yeah.
women.
I
As
mean,
a matter
I
of fact,
definitely
most girls are
Was
bigger.
considered a tomboy.
Right.
So,
Most
yeah.
girls are actually bigger than the dudes. You know, no, seriously. They're usually taller, or if not tall, like. And so to be able to compete or to train with them, there's something to be said for that. I never even considered something like that, but I actually have some experience with that. In college, you know, Natasha Hastings. She actually used to train with us, and we used to get very upset about that shit.
Why?
And so because the way that coach would do it was, let's just say we would have 5 300s. What he would do would have us run 2. She would have 5 too, but we would have to be tired. And after the first 2, she would run with us for the last 3. So like as we're dead tired, she was fresh, and she broke the national record in the 400 that year. I think she ran 49.7 or something like that. And just piggybacking
But he still gave her some leeway to start.
Right, but also there's that impression, even for her, like I'm competing with the guys. So when it's time for me to compete around these hoes, it ain't gonna be nothing.
Why
You know what
I
I'm
gotta be the
saying?
hoes, though? Why we
Excuse
gotta
my
be
language. Excuse. Well, you know, y'all talk like that. So
Right,
excuse me. Right.
talk like that.
But I was the kid that was racing the boys.
Right.
I was the kid that was playing pickup with the boys.
yeah.
And here I am now.
Right.
You know, something is to be said about that. I never backed down from that challenge. I wanted to be not included, but I wanted to play.
Right.
You know, and I think that made me better.
Right.
You know, it made me tougher. So I think if we did if we did integrate, I think women's sport would elevate. Women athletes would elevate.
I'm on board with that. How you feel about that?
I definitely am not opposed to it, but my concern when it comes down to the transgender sort of conversation or topic, what happens a lot of times, like I didn't want to be a boy when I was a girl, right? When I was a little girl, I just was like, I can hang with these guys, right? I play basketball with my brothers.
Right.
I like to play football, tackle, flag. I was fast. I could run, you know, so like I was into it, but I didn't want to be a boy. I still wanted to be a girl. I still like nails. My issue is how you have these adults that are, I would say, pushing. They're, you know, you're really a boy, or do you feel like you're a boy, and things like that, like kind of pushing it on the children too, as opposed to allowing them sort of to naturally develop, whether it goes into they feel like they want to transition or not. So the question is, if they transition early, what if it was just based off of, because the adult is in charge, right? Essentially.
Right.
But if they're transitioning early, but they really don't want to, I mean, you hear about people wanting to go back. You hear about issues where the males have had the sex change and now they have frustration because they don't actually get to climax, essentially. They can't ejaculate like they normally would if they have these things removed. So what happens, like psychologically, if these children are being sort of conditioned at this early age? And because now we're integrating the sports, there's no, I'm a girl, this is a boy. Like, I think it gets really convoluted, because I agree with children being able to play together, but I don't necessarily agree with, you know, children being forced or made to think that they are different. Like, if we're going to include you, then we're just like, but there is a difference. You see what I'm saying? Like, so.
But you also said even though you play with your brothers, you still knew you was a girl.
I knew I was a girl.
So,
some children are now, with the way things are being promoted, right? They are thinking, maybe I'm a boy. Maybe I really am supposed to be a boy. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas a little girl might not think I'm supposed to be a boy. I just don't mind playing with the boys. Right. You know what I'm saying? But if we are allowing these children, like if we're saying it's probably better if we let them transition early, what if we're kind of conditioning them to want to transition early when really it's just, they just like, playing like boys or playing with girl things, or they're just a little bit more on the feminine side or a little bit more on the masculine side as a girl. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, I feel like it could get really confusing because we're putting these children in a position where adults are making decisions for them, a decision that can affect their life as an adult. But if we don't allow, but because we're saying, the testosterone and the estrogen, and we put them on these testosterone shots and we're giving them estrogen, like, are we messing the person up too early? Right. I'm down with integrating the sports, but how does that work with all of this media projection about transitioning and becoming the opposite of what you are? Do you understand what I'm saying?
So in my federation, and it was a huge controversy in my federation, because Olympic lifting allowed it. However, the federation I competed in powerlifting did not want to allow it, mainly because we are a drug-tested sport. Right. And there is an untested side of powerlifting, but the federation I compete is drug-tested. So I can't take anything. Diuretic, no. Beta blocker that is used to decrease your heart rate, no. Like all these things, marijuana, right? No. Right? So I can't take anything to slightly.
But a transgender person has to essentially take something. Right. So that's my issue is like, if you have to do something in order to compete in this sport as a professional, then how does that affect the people that can't take things? And if this is something that we're talking about doing to children, are we forcing them to start doing things to their bodies that is unnecessary, that messes with them overall, and it's still gonna affect them as an adult? But if we're talking about taking these children and blending them together, there's some confusion. Like, I think there could be confusion. I understand the concept, but I feel like we could start introducing too many things to the children.
Like I say, fortunately in powerlifting, there is a untested division, right? That women can do whatever they want, so I could see it being more acceptable in that light, because it could still be a more even playing field. Because there are women that are taking drugs that are elevating, like you could see the difference.
I mean, they clearly start to change features.
Yeah, and in that sense, that may be an offset of an even playing field, but that's not every sport don't have that option. So
and I think that kind of what Kadeem was saying was maybe there needs to be another section.
Sure.
And I mean, they've had those type of discussions even when like performance enhancing drugs were like a thing back in the 70s and the 80s. Like, listen, I feel like everybody's on drugs. Maybe we should just have a heat or a lane or a section that just for people like
that do enhance.
You can do whatever you want, rock out, but this section is for people who only thing that you could take is a protein supplement. You know what I'm saying? Like, and a multivitamin. So yeah, that's really cool. Man, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it just, for me, at the end of the day, I think the issue that I take the most with transgenders in the athletic setting is that you have to do something that the athletes who are naturally born a certain way can't do.
Right.
Give me some tips.
Just to make it, just to include you, just to make it equality. And the thing is really we only hear it mostly in the trans women community. Like, so men transitioning to women. You don't hear much of it with trans men, which are women transitioning to men. So like in your community specifically, like, is it something that you guys talk about, or is it something that we don't really talk about it too much because we don't want any backlash? We don't want to be accused of being, phobic and things of that nature. Like, how is it for you just talking about it?
So it was a huge, there's a lawsuit going on right now because, like I said, the federation I compete in, blatantly said, no, you guys cannot compete.
Right.
Right? We'll give you your own division. They was completely fine with say, hey, this is your division.
Right.
But many trans athletes, they want to be included.
So are we talking, is it mostly trans women?
Trans women.
Okay, because trans men are minding their business, which are really the women minding their business.
Well, I mean, there's no advantage. If anything, you're coming into a deficit, trying to compete.
So there's clearly a difference.
Right.
And that is my point. I take issue with there being a difference that we all, I guess, I don't know, if there's a consensus that we all know there's a difference, even amongst the trans. Like, you're calling us something different as opposed to what you call yourself. Like, right? So you're a woman, you're a man, I'm a woman, Kadeem's a man. And if we had a transgender person here, they would be whatever they say. They are trans woman, trans man, right? That's your title. But why do we have to have a title? Because now this trans person is calling us cis. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about being called a cis woman? Because what is that, right?
I don't know what it is.
Right. I didn't even know what it was. I mean,
to your point, to give someone a right, unfortunately, you're taking the right away from somebody else, and I think that's what it comes down to. To have them included, you're taking the right and the even playing field from someone else.
Right.
And is that fair? You know.
Is it fair?
I don't think it's fair.
I'm looking at you like, is it fair? Say it.
Is it fair?
I didn't know I was the cis all of a sudden. I was like,
You are cis.
I was like, what the hell
You're
is that?
a cis man.
And I'm
know,
thinking SIS, like, bro, you being disrespectful.
No.
Bro.
It's CIS.
Right.
It's
what?
CIS.
Oh,
Right.
I never knew. I always thought it was
CIS.
SIS.
Or,
I'm a cis.
or you're a non-trans person.
No, I'm a man.
All right, for sure.
And you're a trans person. That's
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm cool with you calling yourself whatever you want to call yourself. I'm cool with you identifying yourself with whatever you're identifying yourself. But if you start taking away my ability to be who I am naturally, I'm feeling some kind of way. So that's my only issue. Do you? And I'm all for like separate categories, but I also, like I said, I'm down for on a small scale. But when you start talking about puberty, past puberty, things change.
Right.
So I don't know that even having the children play together might allow the girls to kind of, mentally and physically might help give them a boost. But at the end of the day, when that puberty thing hits, now we're talking about genetic and biological differences.
Yeah.
And there's
Chemical too.
Chemical differences. because it's a matter of the way the testosterone is affecting the receptors of your muscle growth and things of that nature. So all that's changing. And if you start these kids too early with these hormones, what happens to them during puberty? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point?
I just think everything is so new. Like the acceptance of that type of stuff. And I don't even think that we'll have like conclusive research to say this is for another 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
And even for them to
saying?
feel comfortable enough to come, because there are still people that are still not comfortable even just in that feeling the way they feel. So even coming out, you still have people as big as the LGBT community is now. Everything you see on TV has got to have, now it's like, it seems like every show you watch, there's got to be interracial, there's got to be like
token gay person,
the gay couple, everything now. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Representation matters. I get it. I'm down with all of that. But I don't think we have enough evidence to support like really allowing them to put these women, naturally born women, at a disadvantage, period. I just don't think it's enough evidence to support it.
Right. You're going to protect your womanhood for sure.
I mean,
That's
I'm not a lactating person.
I mean, I agree with that. And I just try to ask myself why I agree with that. Because I do agree with that, and I just try to just be open-minded, and it's like, are you missing something, Sam?
Right.
You know, because we are privileged to know exactly who we are and be able to live the life exactly how we want it. You know, and I just don't want to. I don't want to be insensitive because I'm I'm good. I'm happy.
Right. Yeah.
and-
The problem is that you're like, we're being censored a little bit. I feel like it's like you can't really talk about it. You can't really say it because you're trying to be sensitive. It's like, I understand, but can I not still have my position? Can I not still have like the way I was raised? Can I not still have my cultural biases?
Right.
Like, can I not still have those things because it makes you feel uncomfortable? I'm not uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable that I'm not overly comfortable with you. That's what I feel like. It's being forced. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is going to have a whole lot of commentary. I got to make sure I get my captions and my wording right when we go to publish this thing. Yes, sir. So I have a breaker bill for you guys. We're going to wrap this up. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell. Follow Kadeem. He's ridiculous.
Deem the great.
Make sure you just follow him because he swear he lives in the movie. Everything is...
I don't even post half the shit I be doing.
All right, so intersexed athletes.
Oh, goodness.
You got to define that for me. I don't even know what that means.
So the intersex athlete,
Two-spirited.
two-spirited people that were born with
Both.
biologically both.
Oh, okay.
So is that a break or a build for black athletes?
Why black athletes?
Because we don't care about nobody else.
I know,
We're
but you
talking about
specifically said black athletes.
It's always-
black
everything
athletes,
is about
black
black,
community.
yeah, girl, everything is about
Black
black.
community. How y'all feel about intersexed athletes participating in sport? Very different from transgendered folks.
Well, what's the difference?
Are you serious?
I'm just.
But-
messing with
and
you. I know
I'm
what the
honest.
difference is, Flood. My stars. It's very different. What's different?
Are you?
Yes, I'm asking you. Do you know? Or do
Yeah.
you just
So
flapping
a
your
person
gums?
that is naturally born with male and female parts, but maybe benefit from the male parts.
Okay.
Oh, so this is but plays in women's sports?
Yeah.
I'm so confused. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It plays in women's sports.
Yes.
okay.
So there are athletes right now, specifically athletes that are intersexed and have been told to either have surgery or they have to do something to
Lower their
lower their
testosterone.
testosterone,
Right.
which they naturally produce because they are at an advantage.
Right.
I think that's wrong. I don't think that they should have to do anything. Just like to me, that's the whole point.
Right. So them competing isn't a problem for you.
No,
Against women.
no, it's not a problem for me.
Okay.
It's not a problem for me either.
No.
No,
it's not a problem.
God lucky. God bless. It's not a problem. I mean, it's just like being tall.
Right.
Is it?
Yes.
No,
Unfortunately.
man. I don't know enough about it.
Are
to
you?
speak to
Is it being tall?
Like,
Women
they
that are,
then
women that
go
are
and
intersex
put it
have
on
testes
them.
on the inside. And
I
Right.
know what that means, but is there like
So,
like
So
we're
you
talking
think
about
a
they
testosterone?
definitely
one
have an
woman-
advantage. They definitely
A 6
have a
foot one
biological
woman,
advantage.
from a performance standpoint, has the same advantages as
no,
somebody
no.
that produced.
I'm not saying is equal.
Okay.
I'm not saying that. But you say, should they be able to compete? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
They should be able to compete.
Now, when they break your records
That,
by
I
100,
mean-
you're gonna be hot.
Hey,
Look, 100 pounds on that deadlift.
What is
602.
your intent? Yeah.
I'm for it. Like, I don't like it. I'll say that. Because I understand what could come from that. But because they were naturally born that way, you cannot deny somebody their
And I
birthright.
think it's insulting to try to make someone do
Right.
something physically to their body that could cause them to have, horrible repercussions and could prevent them from even competing at the same level that they compete.
Right.
I think it's not right, but I think they should be able to.
How you feel about it, Kadeem? Have an opinion.
No, I do. I agree with you. I think they should be. If you're born that way, you
yeah,
should be
it's
able
a
to
build.
compete. It is an advantage, but
It is a build. I think
it's an
it brings
advantage,
awareness.
not equal to being tall, but it is an
It
advantage
is an
like being
advantage.
tall. You were born that way, though.
and you have women who are naturally just more masculine.
That's a fact. They be having a mustache.
Yeah, and you're like,
But but when you got nuts, bro.
I know.
I mean, when you got nuts, that's the game changer.
That sounds crazy, but okay.
No, but that's the game changer.
I mean, at the end
that's
of the
what
day,
separates me from
there's
you.
advantages
Literally.
to being a woman. There's advantages to being a man. I love the advantages of being a woman. So it is what it is.
Advantages.
Yes,
Talk
there are
about 'em.
plenty of advantages. Having
windmill
babies,
dunking
nigga, we
your
give
ass.
birth.
Look, I'm starting with her. What advantage do you have?
Nigga, you wouldn't be here without a woman.
Okay.
How about
you
that?
wouldn't be here without a man.
These are facts.
There
Pound
are people.
cakes.
There are people
Pound town.
in the.
Pound town. What's wrong with you? Receive it.
Did you have to go there?
Receive it.
You can walk around and pound all you want to, but if you ain't got that womb,
I mean, so we need each other. Stop
Whatever.
trying to act like
I definitely don't need you.
You contributing something that we ain't contributing. Let's
no,
just call
I
it even.
agree. But that's still my advantage. Okay,
What is the advantage again?
I can feed you. I can give birth to you. I can feed you. I don't need none of it.
Now the feeding part, okay.
Exactly. Boom. Thank you.
But as a man, I go out here and I kill a bear
Yes.
with
I
my,
don't want a
with my
bear.
bare hands.
I can live off
You know what I'm
vegetables, sir.
saying? I kill a bear with
I
my
can live
bare
off
hands.
vegetables. I don't need bears.
See, that's what I'm saying. We out here. We for the.
But yes, being interested is an
There you go,
advantage.
Sam. Bring it back for us.
But it's not the end all be all, because
Right.
that will assume that all men are superior than women. And that's not the
Exactly.
case.
It's definitely
so yes,
not.
they may have an advantage, but that doesn't mean they're going to be champions.
Right.
Because
they're not all champions.
You know a lot of 138-pound men that I'm stronger than.
Absolutely. All day.
For sure.
Right. I'm pretty sure
But
she lives more than you,
also
Flood,
dedicated
right?
your entire life to it. These guys out here, man, they ain't 2 left feet. But I could see them training and doing what they need to do.
I am.
They wouldn't be 100.
I will be more okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I
Right.
will be more okay with an untrained transgender who has transitioned to compete in women's sport because they're untrained. If they never played a sport in their life and they didn't have any of that prior history, it may be a okay playing field.
And you're saying like also, but with the hormones and everything, like they have to go
They
through,
still have
but
to
you
go
have to
through.
go through. I feel like you have to take your body through so much. Just keep the way it, you know what I'm saying, is, and give them their own category.
I mean, I don't disagree with that.
You know what I'm saying? Like for them to have to, for a child, because just think about it. If we're going to go back to the
Because you're
kids,
thinking
right?
Kids, but what about adults who are consciously making the decision?
That's one thing, right? To me, you've already kind of, like you said, gone through the process. If you were already like that power lifter, he was a competing power lifter, took a break, then came back and then joined the Olympics, right? So he had already had the advantages of whatever
I don't
over
agree
that
with
time.
that part.
But
Yep.
if we're talking about now, we're introducing this. If you're a child, do you feel like you're a boy? Do you feel like you're a girl? Okay, we're going to go ahead and start doing what we need to do to make sure that you don't have to go through those issues in school. You won't get bullied, blah, 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 this and that and the other. And you might become an athlete or you might not. But if you didn't decide as an adult, like, I think I want to become an athlete, you've already done all this stuff to your body.
I struggle with that because when you talk about brain function and brain development, maturity, and all of that stuff, like 5 years old just ain't old.
That is my
Like,
point. How do
What
we
does the science say? Like, your
rectify-
brain isn't fully matured until you're like 24 or something like that.
For men, it's later than that. I think it's like 50. So I'm just
Like,
You being funny now. I ain't got time for that.
he completely missed it.
We ain't missed that slight jab. It
Kadeem
wasn't-
caught it.
she did
They don't
disrespectful,
control
bro.
till they're 50. All right.
Oh,
But that's what I'm saying. If we're promoting this to these children, like, you can be an athlete, you can be a trans athlete in the Olympics. But if you're trans now, if you're 5 years old and you think you're a boy now, let's go ahead and start giving you the stuff that you need. But what if you really don't? Like, what if you get to that point where you're like, wait, I thought I felt like a boy, but I kind of was seeing all this stuff on TV and I don't.
That's a whole separate issue.
And then there's 11 different types of genders now. So now, there's
you got issues.
okay, well, I'll
the
take it. I
community.
got issues.
I can't wait to post this joint and tag.
Whatever. I
look.
don't have issues. I have concerns. Like, I'm concerned about how this would really affect children.
Nah, children definitely shouldn't be transitioning.
Yeah.
Right, but if you don't transition beforehand, is it fair later as a professional, as someone who
Right.
didn't transion
That's why I
early?
said they gotta have their own.
That's my point.
It should be a
Do we go and attack the?
transgender
Do we
NBA.
go back and attack the kids? Not
would be
attack them,
wild.
but do
That
we?
would
Like,
be
do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I get exactly
It's
what
like
you're saying.
how do you
It's-
rectify it?
That's
how
why
do
you gotta have your own separate lane.
Right.
So yeah.
And I mean, that's literally best scenario.
But you know, I did not think about what you were saying. Like that really was an interesting point to make as far as when you were working with the boys, like how it could bring some level of balance, but you still have to do that at such an early age. And then you still, in order for these trans kids to feel officially trans, they have to start taking all this stuff that they have to do for the rest of their lives. So it's like, damn, do you make that type of decision when you're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old? Or do you wait until you're 30 years old and then people are looking at you like, you're a fucking dude?
Right.
Excuse my language.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
This is great. We're gonna wrap this thing up. We really appreciate you coming out, Sam.
Yeah,
this was
fun.
fun. It was everything that I thought it would be. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell. William, we miss you. We're gonna see you on the next show. And make sure you follow Kadeem and his misadventures of of a baller. You know what I mean?
Not a baller,
Deemed the great, man.
Yes.
So yeah, this is cool.